Welcome to What It Takes, a podcast built to provide valuable insights for people just like you. Here we discuss industry-specific details on what it takes to navigate a journey of professional success from those that have already done it. We're not here to be vague. We're here to get to the nitty-gritty of it all. And today we'll get to the nitty-gritty of what it takes to start your own marketing business with our guest, Lauren Sheffield. Tom, tell us about Lauren.
All right, Lauren, here we go. I'm running through this bio you wrote. I'm going to love it this time. So you're from Ogden, Utah, living in Saratoga Springs, which I might even have to ask about that because that was a very tiny town when I spent some time in Utah. Your top three interests: music, family, gym. Me and Keaton are big gym rats too. We love it. Husband, 3 children, all boys, as mentioned before, all boys. Can't believe it. I love it. I got to hear their names too. You run Hello Marketing, which is a marketing business. You accept 5 clients at a time. Really unique because that's small, but looks like it's been very successful for you. You love running that very small business. You also run a party planning, or it's called Like Pretty Party Utah, as kind of a side hustle, but this is your primary company that you run and your primary income. Currently, you also accepted a new senior marketing position for a clinic just this past weekend, which I'll say again, congratulations. You did start your business in 2020. This is phenomenal and really exciting, but your estimated annual gross revenue for this is $120,000 to $200,000, depending on clientele, work comes and goes, but that's phenomenal. Lauren, thank you for being on our podcast. Really appreciate you being here.
Yeah, I'm really excited. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
So when we went over that bio, I mean, the only thing I saw was the number. I mean, I read other stuff too, but I saw the number and I was like, geez, Tom and I are in the wrong business. So we are excited to learn more about how this started and how you got to where you are. Because starting in 2020, right? Pretty quick growth and provide a great income even for an entire family. And so we're excited to dive into how that came to be. So tell us a little bit about where this came from, where it stemmed from, the origin story of your marketing business, Hello Marketing.
The nitty gritty, Lauren, give it to us.
Let's dive in. So to really understand where I started is I feel like I have to share like my personal story because that's really all it is. And I really would have never called myself an entrepreneur or anything. If any, I used to call myself a jack of all trades and a master of none because I love to be creative. I love to try new things and just dip my hand in all sorts of buckets. And this just kind of came as a result of that. And I saw an opportunity and then really ran with it. But I started my career in the corporate world and climbed different sales jobs and really just working for other people, right? Chasing their dreams, and would be a sales rep to a sales manager, and finally landed in an SEO world. And I really found that all companies, doesn't matter what industry you're in, but they have 3 issues, and it's developing a true brand, converting consumers into loyalists, and then maintaining those consumers, and really just growth to keep building. And so with that, I was like, okay, I don't want to just do sales. I don't want to just do SEO. I really want to tackle marketing. And I had been in the business world long enough. It was pretty simple to make that transition and start on the social media side. And being a millennial woman, that was pretty simple. Like Instagram came out when I was 20, I think, like almost 10 or 11 years ago. It first came out on the
was that 10 or 11 years ago, Instagram?
So, at least when I could get it, because I remember I never had an iPhone until I couldn't even tell you, but I remember when Instagram first launched, it was only available to Apple users. And I didn't even have a smartphone until like 2013, I don't think. Doesn't that make you feel old when you think about that?
Oh, you have no idea, Lauren. Feel old? Yeah, I feel super old.
Yeah. Anyway, so then I got into the marketing world, and eventually landed at a company where I was their influencer marketing director and grew the entire department. And I was there until 2020 when I lost my job with COVID. And that was like a huge blow to my ego, honestly, because I was doing really well at this company. And I just remember thinking, literally, how in the hell am I losing my job? Like, I am bringing in so much revenue. This does not make sense. And obviously, looking back, like, there was a lot of things that, and I mean, as you know, in any business, I mean, now even I know, but like, there's a lot of things that go into a business outside of just how much money you bring in, and that's not even your take home at times. So anyway, so that was good. But then I realized I could do this on my own. And then hence the idea of Hello Marketing, which, fun fact, Hello Marketing. So my name's Lauren. Everyone calls me Lo. And so it's like Hello Marketing.
Hello.
I did not put that together, but
Yeah.
some people might call me a
little.
little slow. So it's no surprise I didn't put that together. Yeah.
Hello.
I like
Oh,
it
that was
though.
good.
Yeah, that's good. Very good.
Hello. Okay.
So anyway, but at the time, it honestly wasn't even called that. It was just called like, hi, I can help you. Please give me a chance.
What I wanted to ask, what flipped that switch from being such an asset to others, and you said it earlier, you were helping others chase their dreams. What helped flip that switch? I feel like it's so hard to know that, or know that that's out there, or like, hey, I'm really valuable and people need this and I can do this. I don't have to help other people chase their own dreams. I can chase my dream. What helped flip that switch?
I honestly think it was just my own motivation. At the time, my husband, it feels so long ago, even though it was literally only 3 years ago, but when we were first married, I was always like the provider, if you will. I kind of helped put him through school, and then he got a job and was working, but the plan was always to go to medical school. And I just remember being so motivated and thinking, I do not want to be in hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt. And I know it's bound to happen at some point. Like, that's the nature of med school, but then not paying it off for years later. Like, I'm like, I will put you through this, and everyone's going to laugh at me when I say that, but like, watch me. And
I always like to say, hold my beer.
Yeah.
Watch me do it. Watch me.
I mean, honestly, he didn't end up going to med school. That's his own story for another time. But I just remember I had that like passion and just wanting that financial freedom so bad. And I think Tom mentioned it, but I have 3 boys and they're really young. And I just remember like I wanted to be home with them, but I also am someone that like loves working. And I knew that if I could figure out what worked on my own, that I could kind of have the best of both worlds and be home with my children, who I love more than anything. But then, still feel like I'm providing financial opportunities and freedom for our family. And that really was like the fire under me. And yeah, honestly, my kids, I guess.
Well, I guess the drive, I would, kind of encompass what you had mentioned into drive, right? Having this just massive drive to want to push and contribute to your family.
Yeah.
I guess my thing was, and going back to Keaton's question, what drove you from, hey, I just want to provide, to be at home? Was it the balance of family and work?
Yeah, I think like, I don't even remember if I read it honestly somewhere or someone told me, but I remember hearing or reading, we work to live, we don't live to work. And I came from a family where I don't want to speak for like my dad by any means and say that he like lived to work, but he was an OB, and his time at home was random and not necessarily always reliable, right? You can't control when babies come. And nowadays OBs are like, that's why groups exist. And so doctors can have better work-life balance. But growing up, when my dad had that, he had his own practice, and your practice, were successful or not based on how many patients you could see. And the more patients, the more babies. And it doesn't matter if it's 3 a.m. or 5:20 in the middle of a piano recital, like he's got to go. And I don't have any negative viewpoint about that. Like I love my family and I'm grateful for everything they did. But I just remember thinking, I don't want to like live my life like glued to my job in that way, or my husband even. Like, I don't care who's providing. Like, my husband actually just quit his job, and is going to be doing the stay-at-home dad life for a little bit. And
Wow.
so it's kind of been fun and exciting, but also a big change. And that's literally just this last weekend. So yeah, crazy time.
Wow.
But
Congratulations.
I want to just be home when I want to be home, and but then not have to worry, like, how are we going to pay for our mortgage this month? But feel like I can really set my own schedule and be free to have those experiences with my kids and show up to every soccer game.
So rewind for me a little bit, Lauren. Yeah. Do you have a degree in marketing? Like, what's your education? So really, you're self-taught.
Yeah, I'm a college dropout.
You are a college. You know what?
Yeah.
You were somewhat smarter than the rest of us. I'm telling you what.
I was an idiot in college, and my parents will tell you the same thing.
What did you go to school for? What was your intention when you entered school?
I don't even know.
General education. Just give me, teach me how to throw a dodgeball.
Lost it, never went to class. Like, I was an actual idiot.
No, you were an entrepreneur. That's what you were. You just didn't know it. It took you another 4 years to figure it out, right?
Yeah.
So then you're self-taught, self-learned, which that should tell our listeners you don't need a college education to be an entrepreneur and be successful. Now, will a college education help you? It can. Sure. I totally agree that it can and it can't at different times, right? Sometimes it sets you back. Sometimes it pushes you forward.
Right.
But man, I really admire you for that, right? And you weren't gun shy to enter the workforce either. Being a female, entering the workforce, it's hard, especially if all of a sudden, ding, you don't have a degree, right? That can already be a hit against you.
Yeah.
So what did you do to get ahead in before I jump into your entrepreneur hello marketing? How did you get ahead? I mean, you just took on a senior marketing position. Did you just bite, scratch, and fight your way up there?
Honestly, yes. And especially, like, I'm glad, I was really grateful to hear you say, like, as a woman, because like I have felt that in my career, like men getting like paid more even for the same position, doing not nearly as much, or you name it. And I think what it came down to was I bounced. I don't want to even say I bounced around a lot, because I really did it, but I really just, like, if an opportunity came, I would jump and just gain as much experience as I could. So from like SEO to email marketing to understanding brands and like what a brand voice and what a brand guide looks like and how to sell that. And I will say, like, doing sales really helped me. Like, I even did door-to-door one summer.
And I was going to ask that. How did you transition? When you talked about being opportunistic, did somebody just say, "Hey, we have this position. We think you'd be a good fit. Do you want to come try it out?" Or how did you transition from sales to SEO to marketing?
I did have a mentor who had an SEO business, and that was a huge help. But I honestly think, I'm going to sound crazy saying this, but I'm like, if you are young and you have an opportunity to do door-to-door sales, I seriously think you should do it. And I know that's wild, because I think most people say don't do it. And also that there comes with a little bit of like self awareness with that, right? Like, if you truly are like terrible at sales, or you hate talking to people, or if you,
it will show very fast.
Or if you don't even have grit, honestly, like, you have to be tenacious on those doors when it is like hot and like, if you, and like, you have to be honest with yourself. So I say that lightly. Like, if you're like, ain't no way, then sure, don't waste your time or whatever. But I feel like for me, one, as a female though, a female on the door, I will outsell any man.
Now, I will tell you though, this is where I have to chime in. I will tell you, there are studies that show a female salesperson or customer service, people are less likely to reject them. Now, I'm not going to discredit your sales ability, because clearly you're a salesperson. You started your own business, you worked your way up in senior marketing, all that sort of stuff. But I will say, that smooth female voice of a customer service phone line, it's really hard for me to yell at her. When a Pakistani calls me over the phone and it's a guy trying to sell me a product, I'm like, I picked up a phone from my wife the other day. It was some dude. He's like, "Hey, this is Matthew." I was like, "Hey, Matthew, sorry, dude, you got the wrong number." And I just hung up on him. Whereas if a female was like, "Hey, this is Jennifer." Oh, hey, Jennifer. Well, that was so sweet. Now, of course, right? Different views. However, I will say, summer sales, grit, grind. Everybody that I know that had any amount of success in door sales, which it sounds like you had a lot of success, they're really good at selling.
Well, and
Very good.
our past client or our past people we interviewed as well, our past guest here, and we've talked about this theme. Sales sets a precedent. We had one guest that him and his brother took very, very similar paths, except for one variable, and that's that he went out and sold, and he did sales, and they took completely different trajectories in their career because he felt like he developed that skill. He had some natural ability, but he developed that skill. So I think you're not crazy. You're on point, and that's
Absolutely.
taught by.
But literally, if you're a woman reaching this, I literally laugh. I tell my husband all the time, not anymore, but even like a year ago, I'm like, I will knock the doors pregnant. I will milk that.
Yes.
You would be so good.
Why not?
And you're coming with me and we're knocking doors. Like, take full advantage.
What was it that you sold door to door?
Pest
control. Nice. We had you should listen to our podcast. We had some guys on here that did pest control. Very, very interesting. And it's a grind. It really is. So that tells me you have immense amount of grit, discipline, hard work. You're not scared to get out in front of people. That's awesome. Yeah. So now let's translate it. You dug and scratched your way in the corporate world. You took the initial step to entrepreneurship. How did you set up your company, and what was its initial focus?
Totally. So you guys are going to laugh because I literally tell myself all the time, like, I have the most ghetto company, like, don't even have a website, and I literally started out and I just would contract, and I contracted all the way up until literally like a month ago.
Lauren, you're talking to two of the most scrappiest guys you will probably ever meet. Trust me. We can empathize with however you've set up your company.
Yeah. You should see my setup right now for this podcast. Some people, I've been told I should do a episode of what it takes to do a podcast and show my setup. The flag is a cover up.
It is. There's a big hole behind there.
Cover up.
Yes, but anyway, So tell us more. Sorry, we interrupted.
You're fine.
Keep telling us about that. And then you said something I wanted to snag onto that. You said you started hitting those contacts. Where did those contacts come from, and how did you milk them, for lack of a better term? Yeah,
totally. So I just reached out to a few like fellow business owners that I was connected with, and were even kind of mentors, if you will. And it was just like, who do you know that is looking to grow their business, but may not either have the resources, to a super large budget even, or just see none of the above, but just is clueless and is starting to getting to that point where they're ready to scale, but just don't have a team. And he kind of provided a few contacts, and I literally think I got my phone and I called every single one, and they didn't know someone, they didn't need me, but they knew someone, and I would milk them for referrals. I'm like, hey, I never met you, but who do you know?
You know somebody, dude.
Yeah,
I love that.
Somebody.
Yeah, and then I actually also edit videos, and I remember I need to tell you one story of how I landed one of my first clients, which is actually, have you guys heard of the Arnold sisters?
No.
So they are influencers, if you will, but Lindsay is one of the biggest ones, and she's a professional dancer on ABC's network, Dancing with the Stars.
Oh wow!
And they were looking for a YouTube editor, and I think a personal assistant even, which to help kind of grow their brand in that way. And I was like, I can do that. And I remember literally DMing her on Instagram like 700 times, not even kidding, like every day. And then I'd comment on every single post and be like, I sent you a DM. Because I know she gets like thousands. And so I'm like,
you got to stand out
every post. And then she reached out. I remember I sent her like my resume and like things I had done. And she was like, let's jump on a call. I jumped on a call and then obviously talked to her, and I didn't hear from her for a month. I was like, well, that sucks. Keep going. Try someone else. Like, what do people need? And then it was like a month later, she texted me, emailed me. I couldn't even tell you. And was like, hey, are you still free? And I was like, hell yeah, I'm free. And
I'm as free as you need me to be.
Yeah, like, what do you need? Anyway. And so then I started working for them. And then I swear from there, it was like, okay, I'm doing this. And I started to figuring out rates and how to charge. And I honestly just charged hourly at the time. And I literally, I hope they never listen to this, but
They probably won't.
pulled a number out of the sky and was like, okay, what's something that's good enough that it makes it worth it for me, but like I can't, like I tried doing research. People didn't put stuff like that on like the internet, like what to charge. And I just was like, you know what, this sounds great. This sounds great. This is what I charge.
I could live off of that. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
And so this is
$100 million.
Is this for the Arnold sisters, or is this for your? Yeah, okay, it's for them.
For the
Arnold
Arnolds. And then
sisters.
they just contracted me. And then the same thing, someone else came up and they're like, hey, well, can you run my social media? And I'm like, sure, it'll be this much.
Let's add a 0 to that last
Yeah.
number.
Yeah.
Does that sound good to you? No? Okay. I'll take
Nope.
away the
Okay.
0.
Yeah. I literally think I
That is scrappy, Lauren. I love it.
in like $600 a month because I didn't know. Like
Yeah.
and they're getting a steal, and I'm like, oh, you
For
are?
sure.
So-
Yeah, for sure. They're like, you are. Have you guys ever seen War Dogs? The movie War Dogs? So it's about these guys that ended up running and selling guns for the government over in Afghanistan and others, right?
Yeah.
Anyways, the government has to send a contract out.
Yeah.
And these guys come up, it's a true story. They're young like us, right? Well, not young like us, I guess, used to be in their 20s. Yeah. And they go to bid on this contract and they're like, yeah, $27 million. We'll do it for $27 million. And the government guys are, yeah, we got it. You got it. Yeah, great. Awesome. You've got it. Yeah, for sure. They're like, oh, it was that easy of a process. Well,
yeah.
The guys go, hey, we're just curious. What was like the next bid, just so we know kind of for future contracts? And they're like, oh, the next bid was like $257 million. And they were just like, are you like, they left that much on the table, right? So
yeah,
their faces in this movie is just incredible. So for you, you're going, man,
yeah,
I'm really getting a steal here from these guys. I'm charging them out the wazoo. And they're going, hey, I think it's all perspective, right? From an entrepreneur sales perspective, the eyes of the beholder is the value that they receive, right?
100%. And I would even take it a step further and then being like, eventually the value you see in yourself, right? Because if you know your worth and what you feel like you're bringing to the table, you can mirror that back and you might be higher. Because then I've gotten to a point now where I'm like, this is what I charge based on the scope that we're looking for. And if you're not going to pay that, you're not worth my time.
Right.
And where before, ask me 3 years ago, I would have been like, what are you looking to pay? Okay. Like,
I think, well, that's because I think there's a difference.
Yeah, I think it's a pit
starting, right?
Yeah,
I think there's a
100%.
difference between starting the company,
100%.
getting what you can, where you're just like, I'll discount this as much as I can. I just need clients.
100%. And that's obviously what happened. And so then, and then that just kind of naturally grew from there. You know, I'm doing some small boutique. I could not even tell you the name of it anymore, but I'm doing their social media. And then they don't remember what happened, honestly. And they tell someone else, and then I do it. And then I started to realize, wow, I've been discrediting myself a lot. And I think I just had imposter syndrome, honestly, for a long time. And like, I knew I could do something and I was going to grind and I was going to make it happen. But I still felt I would tell myself the things that I assumed people were thinking.
I'm going to be dumb here, Lauren. Imposter syndrome. I have a thought of what it is. Explain that to me.
Just like feeling like you don't belong, or like I should be. For example, there's a Dr. Seuss quote that I love, and it says, I'm not what I think I am. I'm not what you think I am. I'm what I think you think I am. And it gets a little lost.
Okay, so Lauren, explain it to me like I'm 5.
Yeah.
No, I love that. That was great.
No, that's a good saying. Absolutely.
But for me, it was just like, I assumed, oh, I'm a college dropout. I'm a girl. I'm just a young mom in Utah. Like, tons of self-doubt. And when I say imposter syndrome, meaning like, I do not fit the demographic or stereotype of what a business owner should be, and like terrified myself of that, and like felt very undeserving of any success in a way. But it was this weird complex where I was still fighting for it and grinding for it, and I knew I could achieve it, but just felt like, who is going to trust me at this point? Like, I have so much to show for it, but at the same time, absolutely nothing.
It's like, I wrote this plan together. Are they really going to buy it as a good plan?
Right.
And am I confident that it's a good plan?
Right.
I think it is. I spent 12 hours on it.
Yeah.
It should work. It can work. I don't know if it's going to work.
Yeah. And because at the end of the day, the hardest part about marketing is that you're dealing with uncontrollables, right? I can control what I post, I can control what I share, I can control what I send, but I can never control how a consumer consumes something, how they interpret something, whether they like it, whether they dislike it, whether they're motivated to buy. It's not a door-to-door transaction anymore, right? It's strictly online and or through print or whatever the what is the word I'm looking
Medium.
for? Medium. Thank you.
I get you. I know my marketing terms.
Yeah. So,
well, give me this then. I don't mean to cut you off, but
no, great.
Again, how did you start your company? Give me some of that nitty gritty.
Yeah.
Like, you filed your LLC. Did you file it first? I know you started working and you didn't have an LLC, but how did you kind of get going, sign clients, even send invoices, quotes, stuff like that? You've shared a little of these stories, but give me maybe some of the business and operations of it.
Yeah, don't laugh at me. Okay, so I
get ready, audience. Here it comes.
1099 for everyone, and literally just 1099. And then it continued to grow. And if I could go back, I actually would change a lot and could have been a lot more profitable, even with tax benefits, you name it. But would 1099 people, because I was like, sure, yeah, that's what works. Literally until last month. Have just been straight contract. And finally was like, there is a much more successful way to do this. Like, it's literally laughable at this point. Like, I've been doing this for 3 years, but it honestly started to ricochet so fast, which I'm grateful for. And I'm also incredibly proud of, because now I really truly can confidently say, like, I know what I'm doing and I know I do a good job. So when I find people, I'm like, let's get down to the nitty gritty. What's your numbers? What do you need to make? Like, what? Great. Okay. This is what I need. This is what I need. I will make it happen. And I do. And it's very satisfying, but I would literally, so yeah, I just contracted and then eventually would just change rates, and it would be like a monthly, I'd say 90%. There's occasions with some clients, obviously, but it's just like a monthly premium. And from like 3K to like 5K, generally speaking. And they pay me that per month. This is what they get for it. And that's it. And honestly, I only have one client, and you guys are also going to laugh, that I'm W-2'd for, but they still call me a contractor because it allowed us to get our house.
Hey, bingo. No, I have that workaround. Absolutely.
I remember calling my finance guy, and because it was right when my business took off, and I'm like, I promise you we're not living up beyond our means. But like, I can't prove it because I filed taxes so uniquely.
When you say uniquely, what you mean is, now I don't know what you make. Well, we know your gross revenue, but like, I make $100,000 a year. Great. But on my taxes, it shows that I make $40,000 a year because I wrote off those miles. I wrote off that computer. I wrote off that microphone, that piece of paper. Yeah. No, I totally get it. And it makes it very hard to buy a home. You can show that mortgage agent, look at 3, 4, 8, 10 years of my bank statements, and they still don't want to approve you. I get it.
So knowing that, did you go to this client and say, hey, I need to be W-2'd, or did you ask a favor?
Like, hey, I'm buying a house. Can you W-2 me?
That's awesome.
I've worked here for a month or a week. Like, it counts. So
that's what I learned from a really early age from my dad. And but basically, it never ever hurts to ask. And usually people have good hearts, and they're like, yeah, sure, yeah.
And she literally, I had been contracted already, and she was like, oh yeah, that's fine. Just contact our finance whatever person. I was like, sweet, thanks.
That easy.
And, yeah, and I will say, like, I love that you said that, because I feel like that's been like a huge, like, even model for me, if you will, like with my business. Like, it never hurts to ask. Like, it literally, the worst thing that someone can tell you is no. And cool, what about it?
My goal in life is to never pay full price for anything, because I asked, right? Just the other day, we were at the ballpark. This frozen ice place was there, and I've gone to their brick and mortar store, and they do frozen ice, a slushie mixed with ice cream.
Yeah.
Well, I showed up there, and they didn't have ice cream to mix with it. And they're like, well, we're in the hot sun over here in Texas. And I said, well, I think I should get it for free then, because you didn't bring ice cream. Well, guess what they gave me? They gave me a ton of like free coupons to show up to their store. There's like, here's 25 of them for your whole team. Oh, thank you so much. Right. Super nice people. But anyways, yes, asking for things. I think you've got to be able to open your mouth. It never hurts to ask.
No, never, ever. And I feel like that's what's helped me even grow. Like literally, that's why I laugh about it. Where even a month ago, it was like, hey, asking a friend even, how can I be more like it does not make sense anymore what I'm doing. It does not make sense that I'm literally bringing in this much income and just to like not even be able to write off to the full capacity what I could.
You need to go buy a truck, Lauren. That's what you need to do. Go buy a truck, write it off.
Yeah, because I'm not like an LLC or like whatever,
Yep.
It's a lot harder as a contractor. But again, that's why even going full circle back to the beginning of the podcast is like, I never consider myself an entrepreneur. I feel like I had the grit of an entrepreneur and I was like committed to make something happen without any of all the tools and knowledge that where now I'm like, okay, if you have an idea, commit to it. You can do it, but talk to somebody. If you don't know, talk to somebody, start an LLC, like, because you will be more profitable in the end, right? Taxes will be easier, all the things.
And so many people, I think, get that paralysis by analysis. They really do. And they're like, man, I have to have everything planned out to a T versus if you go and just do and you screw up, most people, probably not the IRS, but almost everybody else is like, you know what? It's okay. Like, just pay me back or do this next time or whatever. I mean, but if you don't ever start, you can't get it done. And you learn so much along the way and you learn so much from your mistakes. So yeah, I love that you said that. And that's, I hope that people that listen know that you can't ever get anything accomplished if you do get paralyzed by overanalyzing.
You got to stretch. It's all about stretching. Well, Lauren, you set up your LLC. You did some operations. What are you using? Did you set up the LLC yourself? Like go straight to the state, or did you use a third party?
No, I just went through the state.
Third party. Then you found your registered agent, right? That's what we're finding, right? That's what you've got to have. And then operations wise, are you using anything like a software, a program, anything like that to run your business, or Excel spreadsheets, pen and paper?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, she is ghetto. You are awesome, Lauren.
So essentially you're operating at almost no cost.
Yes.
Which has been nice. Yes.
Absolutely. Your overhead is way down. That's fantastic.
My overhead is my accountant at the end of the year / even first year TurboTax. So.
Yeah. And you talked about asking somebody, and I think that's overrated too. And just people are so willing to help. You talked about somebody asking somebody, how do I do this? I've been contracting this whole time. What was the advice they gave you?
Just kind of basic tax stuff, like, oh yeah, get an LLC, figure that out. And then obviously like the bank account stuff that comes with it, because right now it's just like, oh, direct deposit into my checking account, all the things. But like, I too need to almost be an employee of my business, right? Like this business income, I am paid then it's less clean. It's easier to, I mean, they said QuickBooks too, but I just been like, man, we'll see, because I often we haven't talked about it, but I did just accept this position. So I'm trying to figure out now with like the future of Hello Marketing, because it was very unexpected and it's actually been very emotional because I love my clients so much. But I will be kind of like phasing out and I will either start hiring now and somebody will kind of step in my place and I'll just make sure quality is there to keep some of this going. But there is 2 clients in particular that I am just phasing out of completely. And I'm just keeping kind of like the bigger ones. And
how do you do that? Obviously that's, like you said, emotional and you can see it.
Yeah.
How do you do that? How do you have that conversation?
You just have it. I just sat them down and the opportunity that came up was actually very unexpected. When I was first talking to the people that offered me this senior position, they were actually interested in client services. And then it kind of just like, the more we were talking and I was kind of telling them, actually, I don't think we're the best fit for what you're looking for. Like, this is what I do. They wanted me in office all day. And I was like, I don't do that. Like I work 2 days a week. I work Mondays and Wednesdays when our nanny's here from 9 to 5. And sure, it's my business. So I'm attached to my phone a little bit at the hip, and I'm always available for a phone call or a text away. And sometimes during busier times of the week, it spills over into other days. But for the most part, like Monday and Wednesday, 9 to 5, 16 hours a week, like that is when I worked. And the other days I was like, nope, I'm done. I'm with my kids. And so they were like, we need you here every day. And I was like, not going to happen. So thank you, but no, thank you. And then the more we started talking, they were like, well, actually, can we bring you on? Would you be open to an offer that would take on this full department? And once again, full circle, I was like, sure, for this amount.
And this was your new senior marketing position.
Yeah.
And they handed you an empty checkbook and said, write your number.
Basically. And
I love it. I love that.
Like, this is what I would need to make. And just was like, sure, this would be nice. My husband could quit his job. I could do this. And sure. But like,
and then they said, yes, so fast. You did this. You went, dang it. That number should have been higher.
Yeah. And obviously there was some negotiations. Like it's definitely higher than anything they've done before. Sure. And then they kind of came back and they're like, yes. And then afterwards they're like, wait, can you like show us your work and all this stuff? And I was like, sure. But it was fun. It was almost comical because I said that as almost like, no, like guys, like we're not a good fit. I'm not going to do this. So like, sure, unless you want to pay me this much, like, and then like, okay.
But you're bringing value, right?
Yeah,
I think that's the thing that a lot of people miss, right? Is the self-value you had going, I'm confident that I can put this number there, that they can offer me this so much.
Yeah.
So here's my question for you then, Lauren. You've got a senior marketing. You're not closing the doors on Hello Marketing, it sounds like. But you've got to figure out a way to balance so that you don't work. Because right now you're going to work 40 hours a week, right?
Yep, I'm going 9 to 5.
So how are you going to keep yourself working from 50, 60, 80 hours a week?
Yeah. And that's something that I'm literally in the middle of transition right now. So find someone, bring on your podcast, and I'll listen to them.
Keaton, she's hiring. Get over there.
Yeah. And it's something I'm very passionate about with Hello Marketing is I don't want it to become an agency. And
that's your baby. It's like your fourth boy, you know?
Yeah. Like I know this sounds conceited, but I wish I could clone myself. Like I will find people, and it's just like you said, it's my baby, and I want the best. And so it's hard to find, honestly, a little bit.
Have you used anyone to help you along the past 3 years?
Yes and no. So again, I would keep my costs low. And if I needed help with a client, I would make them hire them as a W-2 employee.
Wow.
So I'd be like, hey, I need support. I will still do X, Y, and Z, but I need someone. You need to hire a social media assistant, and they will report to me.
That's right. Almost like an admin, right? You need to hire an admin that I can give some orders to, do these papers, things like that.
Yeah. And so one client, I had 3 assistants, but I would manage them, but not on my paycheck. I was like, if you want me to hire them, sure, but then that you'll have to pay me more. Like either you can pay them and do the whole W-2 thing, whatever you want, but like I'm not going to accrue that cost, or X, Y, and Z is just not going to happen.
Right.
You talked to go ahead.
Go ahead.
You talked about X, Y, and Z. That's something we haven't gotten into yet. What did you get so good at? And like, how do you do that for the listeners listening? Like, I want to start a marketing business. What is it that made you so valuable that you said, hey, I don't want to work for you unless you paid me this, and didn't really think about it? And they were like, boom, yeah, here it is. What did you do, or what have you done? What do you offer that's so valuable?
For sure. I'd say it's 3 things. And if people are really interested in marketing, I would say you like need to know these 3 things inside and out. The first and obvious being social platforms. So not just being able to post a pretty picture, but knowing Instagram inside and out, TikTok inside and out, Pinterest, LinkedIn, Facebook, especially Facebook. But like Instagram, for example, if I were to pull up my phone right now and show you, I think a lot of people don't know about like the advanced settings and features within Instagram that allow posts to get greater exposure. So on Instagram, and sorry, I could talk forever about this, but even like
take your time.
Like people just think you like, oh, just throw a bunch of hashtags up and that's great. And I'm like, Instagram's smarter than that now. Like everyone is trying to push their content, and they also have updates that happen every 6 weeks. So you have to be on top of continual education too and learning. So Instagram, TikTok, knowing how to work within the app. Like even Instagram alone, everyone's been like, oh, reels are so big. Well, now reels are only so big if you're editing within the app. If you're using external softwares, you're going to get
Oh, that
How do you-
algorithm's tricky.
How do you learn that? It's because it's constantly evolving. And I know that's my sister was a pretty big dessert blogger for a while, and she sold her business, whatever.
Yeah.
But I know that was so frustrating to her. She started when Pinterest started, and she put out a recipe. She went to sleep and she woke up and it had like 200,000 hits.
Yeah.
And then she eventually sold because she's like, I don't have time for the continued education.
Yeah.
Where do you find that education?
I mean, it's a little harder to find, but honestly, from Instagram directly, like they have to inform people of updates. It's just people don't want to sit down and read. It's the same idea of like, yeah, scroll, agree to terms. I read it. No, you didn't.
Do they have a website? I don't even.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Do they have a website?
Technically, but it's just in their terms. And then like also I will like follow like the CEO of Instagram, or they're constantly pushing updates. And then also just being mindful of just trends. Like Forbes will post stuff, just being mindful. But that's across all platforms. And so like I will say I do spend a decent amount of time just like looking things up. Like I'll put the kids to bed, and my husband's worked graves until this point, and so he'll be gone at night. And so I'm just in bed anyway, like alone, so I'm just learning, scrolling, watching videos. And then, but also I was going to say they would need to know social platforms inside and out, and then ads. They like have to understand ads and how ads work. Google ads, Facebook ads,
online, overarching online advertising.
And where do you learn about that? Same thing from the source itself?
Yeah, I did pay to take one course, which was helpful. But it's just a course that Google puts out.
How much was that course?
I think it was like $1,500.
Okay.
Whoa.
And pretty long, a week, 6 weeks.
It was, I really think it's like an at your own pace thing, because it's basically is just a bunch of videos.
Oh, so you get access to content.
Yeah. They have a few types, and I think I chose like a pretty small just because I was just looking to update skills. Where like they have Google has actually a really awesome program where you could pay, I think it's upwards of 8,000 or 10,000, but you can pay to take a full course with a guaranteed job at Google.
Wow.
So that's pretty cool.
So let's say I'm starting my marketing company. I'm a little overwhelmed by all the ad platforms that I can post. Which one should I focus my attention first?
I'd say Google and Facebook.
Okay.
And
pick one, Lauren. Pick one, Lauren.
Okay, well, that's a tricky question though, because
Lauren, it's not. Just pick one. I'm gonna pressure it. Do it.
Who is my target audience?
Your target audience is 20 to 50-year-olds.
Then
that's huge. That's a huge population. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I made it stretch, so she had to pick
but like it's still
you said Google?
I'd say Google.
See, which I would have thought Facebook. I know nothing. This is
no. I think the 20 number is what threw me.
Okay. Now,
also, TikTok surpassed Google as the number one lead search engine.
TikTok did?
For searches?
Oh my gosh.
Doesn't that blow your mind?
That does. I don't even have TikTok.
Mind. What are people searching on TikTok?
Anything.
How do I walk my dog?
Yes, but this is what also blew my mind. So usually the people that companies hire to help me are very Gen Z. And I remember in a meeting bringing this fact up because I could not wrap my head around it. Like if I need something, I'm going to go to Google. I'm not going to go to TikTok and be like, I need a truck or whatever it is. And I was like, did you know that TikTok just surpassed Google as the lead search engine? And she was like, well, like, yeah.
She's like, well, duh.
Yeah. And I was like, that's crazy. And she's like, well, like, what do you use? I'm like, Google.
Yeah, Google. I don't know. Why don't we go back and use Bing? It's like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
TikTok.
They use TikTok. And I was like, I guess.
I didn't even know you could really search on TikTok other than just for general videos. I mean, don't we just swipe on that thing all the time?
You don't know the app inside and out, Tom.
I don't. I really don't. Okay. So Google seems to be still the platform for ads.
Yeah. And I'd say, again, it's so hard to pick one. It really, really comes down. I would like 20 to 50. Obviously, I gave it to you and picked one, but like that's also half of the trick of my job too, is right. Like diving in, like who is your audience? What do they look like?
And balancing it. Cause I'm sure the companies you work for, the people that you work for, you don't want to be siloed to one platform.
No,
So.
but that's where it kind of comes in. I think a lot of people just don't understand. Actually, pause. I'm going to go back and change one thing. Outside of like knowing how to use the tools and resources given to do your job correctly, like that's a given. I would honestly say to be successful in marketing, you have to know how to create and deliver a campaign, a true campaign from conception like to end. Meaning, like, what is a good example? If you want to launch a product, knowing how are you creatively going to push this to your audience on all platforms where they will all perform individually on their own thing, from email to print to, like we talked about, the mediums before, but then also work like they have to be synonymous at the same time, and conceptualizing that with very clear graphics, imaging, colors, like a true brand look and guide that's still cohesive with your brand, and truly conceptualizing that, making it happen with a full analytic finish to see ROI to continually change. You can't be stuck in your ways, right? Like you might make up some sort of design that looks great, but it didn't perform well. And so that's the nature of the job. But great, now you can look what did well, what did not. You can see exactly with the numbers where you lost somebody, right? Maybe they clicked into the ad, but then they didn't like your website. Your bounce rate was super high. So, okay, our landing page, we're losing them. That's the issue. We're bringing them, and that really going through that funnel and knowing how to adapt and create true campaigns. Because if you can have a successful campaign, that's your business, right? I want to launch a product. I want to sell this service. I want to sell this add-on to this service. Great. I will do it. This is how we're going to do it. This is who we want to buy this. This is how they speak. This is what they look. This is what they're searching for. Knowing how to go onto Google or TikTok and being like, what is this audience looking for? Great. How can I make my product or my service fit within that mold to show up, and to then once it shows up, then also be desirable.
So is that your number 3 then? Is a campaign, run a successful campaign?
Yeah, I'd say 90% of people don't know how to do a true campaign.
So it's like they know all this marketing lingo, they know the information, but it's, can you run the play, basically? Hey, we've got a football team, we're running the play. Can you run the campaign to the end zone?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I think a lot of people like to call themselves marketers because they can make a pretty image on Canva and post it and make an aesthetic feed. And that's when I say you're just barely scratching the surface. Like if you want to truly run successful campaigns, what are those graphics doing? Are you actually, like, sure, it looks good, but are you driving anyone to do anything? Like, is the call to action so clear that not only are you getting your point across, but you're not allowing your point to be misconstrued from any one viewer or consumer? And then the choice is simply, I want it or I don't want it, but not because of any visual lack of, I don't know if that's making sense, but.
And for that, for Hello Marketing, have you done all the visuals, all the designing?
For companies or for myself?
No, for companies.
Yes.
And for your clients.
Yeah, right. For your clients. Do you do that through Canva?
Mostly. Okay. Sometimes Adobe, depending on the needs, but I'd say Canva, the cheapest genius online program there ever was, because you need the pro version in order to do the best stuff. But yeah,
and know how to use the tools, right?
And you just think up designs, and I mean, just off the top of your head, like, oh, I think this looks good, or how do you come up with those ideas?
So before I come up with those ideas, I make sure, a lot of people I've found don't have super clear brand guides. So like they have our font, they have their colors, but then I'm like, okay, great. What are your secondary colors? What colors do you use when you're speaking to a certain audience? So for example, one of my clients is a wedding venue or just an event venue, I should say. So we have our our brand guide, when speaking about the brand as a whole, and the font that we use always, that's part of like our logo as well. And then we have secondary colors. This is more bridal. This is more to like speak to that
Audience.
audience. And then we have our corporate color guide, where it's still, again, if you were to put all of the colors together, they look good. But we use things, right, that already like start to put thoughts into your consumers' heads without realizing it. It's just color theory 101, right? That's why they call red personality a red, because they're strong, they're direct, they're fiery, and a yellow fun and bright and happy. And that why you wouldn't paint a nursery bright yellow, but maybe a soft blue or a lavender, or like, it's the same idea. And like that, knowing that psychology behind everything you do, behind a font you use, behind a color you use, and then translating that into your design. You know, that's why graphic designers are helpful. And sometimes we have access to them. So that's great. Like they would sit here and laugh at me using Canva because
Canva, very
that's what
fancy.
they do. Yeah, Canva.
Canva.
I use you cheap peasants who use Canva. I'm on the Canva platform.
Yeah.
The pro edition.
Yeah, Canva Pro.
Yeah. And that's okay. I think too, as an entrepreneur, I think what you found is scrappiness pays, right? And if you can keep costs low and you can find a tool out there that works and that's producing good content and it sells, why? Yeah. You don't need to keep up with the Joneses next door that are paying the premium on Adobe and needing all these other tools. And, you know, I see some of these marketers that have this big old computer screen they're drawing on and all these graphics. And Lauren's over there on like a 12-inch screen just typing away.
Literally my MacBook Pro.
And I love it. I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it.
Yeah.
And you mentioned this quite a few times, and I've held my tongue because I wanted to wait till the end. You said if I were to do it over again, and obviously you'd probably do it the same way because there is so much fulfillment in the journey of failing and succeeding, and it feels so good, and you come to be a whole new person. And you learn so much from that journey. But a whole purpose of our podcast is to provide content so these people starting from scratch don't have to endure some of the pain that we've endured starting a business from scratch and learning. So if you were the detail, you mentioned it so many times, I wanted to ask, but wanted to wait till the end, what you would do if you had to start over to accelerate your growth and to be successful like you have been. What would that counsel and advice be from somebody starting in your industry from scratch?
I would say in my specific industry, like obviously we've mentioned like some of the obvious, like maybe figure out the finance stuff just to set you up for the maximum amount of success in the long run. But even if you feel like you can't do that, because that's fine. Because that was like low key me, right? I started out like it obviously turned into something that I never thought it would. So of course at day one, I wasn't like, I have this great idea. So sometimes that's not part of the natural process, but I would say to get as much client variation portfolio as you can, because once you have that, you really can do anything.
Would you offer free? I mean, would you say, hey, I'll come do this for you just and build that portfolio? And when you talk about portfolio and you said you had to show like who you just got hired on your portfolio, do you have a website of your portfolio or just?
No, I just have like something I've made in Canva, honestly, that shows work I've done with screenshots. And I made a website once, but like I mentioned, I only take 5 clients at a time just to protect my work-life balance. That's why I do that. Like, sure, I could take on more if I really wanted to, but like, I don't. Like, I do want to be home with my children. And I mean, now I'm working 9 to 5, so it's obviously changing, but at least my husband's home. Like for me, it was important. Daycare is not bad, but for me personally, that wasn't something that I personally wanted. And so that's why I didn't. But I don't know. I would just say, if you have to do it for free, I would say know your worth for the beginning. Even if your worth is $100, like it's still something, right? Like if as a business owner, if someone offered something for free, sure, I'm going to take them up on it. But I've even had people reach out to me today being like, hey, like I'd love to make a video for your brand or something. Like I'll do it at a discounted rate of $50. It's like, I really if you show the value of what you're going to do for them, I really think you'd have a hard time finding somebody who wouldn't even be able to at least pay you minimum wage. So I would just take that into it before just offering for free. But again, if you're not finding success, sure, like it's work, right? And as somebody who cares about like your time though, I would just be mindful that there are ways, even if it's dirt cheap. Like I started out like $600 for your whole marketing a month. Like that's honestly nothing. But at the time that was a lot for me.
And you were busting your butt probably to make sure you gave them everything they ever needed. You were probably like, man, I'm working for like 10,000 a month.
Than I do for my biggest client. Like,
yes,
and
I'm sure.
So, and that's part of the process, right? And so for me, that was my version of free. But like that's why I say I wouldn't be afraid to charge unless you truly are like, I've literally never done this and like I'm jumping in, and there's sure some level of like I might fail and I'm putting your name on it. So sure, there's a little bit of give and take there.
Sure.
But I just think it's important to not sell yourself short either from the beginning, because if you start out that way, it's going to be harder and harder to jump those hurdles, right? Because then that's what's going to get out. Like, sure, I was cheap, but it was still $600. So it wasn't still someone just looking for free work. It was
nothing,
still
right. Yeah.
Then it was a lot easier to charge to 1,000 and then 1,500 and then 2,000 and 2,500. Actually, I've raised my prices and now it's 3K versus actually I'm not doing this for free anymore. So
counsel, to this person would be maybe get your finances, get a structure, then build a portfolio, know your worth.
Yeah.
What else would you add on to this person starting out fresh?
Find ways to directly impact revenue and have a way you can prove that. So at the end of the day, no one's going to hire you if they don't see the ROI, and no one cares just about pretty pictures. So the closer you can get to like showing like a case study, which is I guess part of your portfolio, but I did A and then B, and then this is what happened. And that's actual tangible proof, right? That you can translate into another industry.
Yeah. I mean, they're paying you money. If you're not making them money, why am I paying for that?
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think ROI is a big one.
Yeah. And that really, I mean, I guess it's kind of like B part 2, if you will, like number 1, number 2.
Well, and I think ROI ties in with your third that you talked about earlier of building a campaign, right? I mean, if you can take the campaign from beginning to end, it should translate into ROI, right? What is the return on your investment? Well, my campaign will produce XYZ if we follow it somewhere within this range.
Yeah. And I will say with that too, like now I obviously deal with like big numbers, right? Like I'm responsible for
like millions of dollars.
$3 million goal for this year or quarter 2 and 3. Great. If that doesn't happen, that's on me. That's much bigger scale now. But when I started, like sometimes my growth was even just follower count. It was like, look, I can make your social media look aesthetic and you can go from 100 followers to 1,000 to 3,000. So I wouldn't want people to be fearful if they don't have the big numbers right away either. Like it's okay if like you just can show consistent growth in following or in engagement. And I don't know, like that's because I will say too, one thing is I actually just kind of have been mentoring a girl who really wants to do what I do. And that's one thing I continually try to help her find. You know, if I can't take someone and they don't want to be on my waiting list, I say, hey, well, maybe use this girl. She's new. But like she just does not have a wide range, right, of things that she can claim as her own. And so I do think you need to get out, find someone and really do something on your own if you want to grow big.
Well, now look at this though. Look at this process. And this is something I have to mention. The mentorship. You mentioned having someone mentor you, and now look what you're doing to someone else.
Yeah.
You're mentoring them, Lauren. You made it.
Yeah.
Right? Now, I know you have more aspirations and dreams, but man, what a journey to see yourself from 3 or 4 years ago, having a mentor. And now you've got this young lady who wants you to mentor as well. Yeah. And I think that's fantastic, because if you can help somebody, that's one of the biggest reasons me and Keaton put this podcast together, was to show people the different industries, companies, businesses, people, all walks of life. You can do it. right? And if you can find that mentor, I think that's huge. Which who was your mentor? You've mentioned him a few times.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna say two. So I had one person, and he actually has passed. So not
nice.
around, but I recently have a new mentor, and her name is Megan Bonham.
Okay.
And I get emotional thinking about her because her family is amazing. Like literally has donated $15 million to Intermountain to build out a wing for
I was going to say Bonham sounds
Walker
like a
Edison,
very familiar name.
Yeah. I'm extremely, extremely close to her and like literally adore her more than anything. And she was a mom, and like she kind of put her career aspirations on the back, not the back burner, because being a mother was just as important. And she obviously they have 3 children as well, 4th with the one that didn't survive, and hence the donation to the oh my gosh,
Intermountain.
Thank you. Yes. Anyway,
I got you.
But and her husband Brad built from the ground up Walker Edison, and he's now retired. He's like maybe 45, and she just started a company, and she kind of figured, hey, it's my turn, and let's just do this for fun, and it'll be great. And anyway, and she to this day not only I feel like teaches me so much, but also inspires me. She just was recently, she's 39 and was just nominated and selected for Utah Business 40 Under 40. And again, I just feel like she continues to teach me so much in the sense of that, like I can be something so much greater than I ever thought because of her. Again, it's like that imposter syndrome. Like I never would have thought, I never considered myself as an entrepreneur. I never thought I could do things like this. But just through working hard and like trusting in people and like being humble and like letting people teach you. And then when it comes down to it, just working hard, I'm like, you really can achieve some amazing things. And I love it because I'm a baby, right? Like I have so much life to live. I turned 30 this year, and I literally am like, I'm only 30. Like that's crazy and exciting. But I feel like already just in the last year even is when I feel like my business has really taken off, and it's because of her. It's because I feel like she taught me that I can do anything if you're willing to work hard. And I also believe that like just be a good person and have compassion, and like good, like karma is real and good will come back to you. And like go above and beyond when you can, and do the right thing. Maybe sure, like I've had this happen, like contractually someone is in the wrong or they did whatever, but it's like, you know what? It's not worth it. And I want you to leave having the best experience and taste in your mouth, if you will, of like me as a person and the type of business that I held and ran. And I don't know, I think that trumps everything. Like, sure, have grit, fight, be hard, but like never, ever throw someone under the bus, never, ever like step on somebody to get there. It's not worth it. And I love that she's taught me that. Sure, she's 40, but like you can still find, it doesn't matter how old you are, how young you are, like you can achieve great things if you put your mind to it. And I don't know, I just adore her. I'm rambling now, but I'm literally obsessed with her.
And last thing, how did you find her?
She hired me and I was referred to her. And then we've just become close friends through it. So I had a client, they got big enough that they wanted like a team brought in house. Then that client referred me to this client, and which Megan owns. And yeah. And then just dream big, I guess.
Now everything's history. I love that.
Yeah. And now it's really, I don't know, it's a lot of fun. So I feel like I've talked so much sweet nothings, but
no, you've given so much valuable insight, and I think you've achieved our goal. If somebody comes that wants to get into marketing and have their own business, I think they will leave feeling so much more confident on how to do so. So thanks for giving your time. You heard your boys in the background. Know you have a busy house. Obviously know you value your family time because that's why you've done the things you've done. So thank you so much for giving your time to us, and hopefully others that will listen to this. And I know if they do, they'll glean a lot.
Absolutely. Lauren, thanks for being on.
Yeah, thank you. You guys are amazing.
Anytime. Dawson, hit it, my man.